there was some news that came out a couple days ago, and I kind of wanted to talk about it and kind of get my thoughts out there on it. So, obviously, with the pandemic shutting down everything, especially movie theaters have been hit hard by the pandemic. A lot of movies have been pushed back, and some movies are trying to get new release dates, and some keep getting release dates, and then they have to be pushed back, and then they just continue to be pushed back as the pandemic goes on, because it seemed like, at least here in the US, it seemed like, things are kind of quieting down in New York, so things were kind of going back to normal. And then cases started spiking in other states, of course. And it just seems like there's no end in sight to this pandemic, unfortunately. And so surprisingly Disney of all companies, decided to do something that I thought was admittedly what I think is a little game changing. And that they are going to take Mulan, which was supposed to be in theaters and has been delayed multiple times, and put it straight on Disney Plus for $30. And when I heard that, I'm like, oh no. Oh man. Wow. So, what are my thoughts on this? Like for me personally, let's take the movie first. Mulan was a movie I was actually kind of looking forward to. Unlike a lot of the Disney remakes that we are getting these days, like The Lion King, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, this one actually looked like it was going to be different than the other ones. It looked like it was going to be its own spin, at least, and apparently it was PG-13, so that's really interesting as well. And I was trying to do a list, trying to rewatch all the remakes again to prepare myself for Mulan, so I could do a video on the rankings of all the remakes. And the last one was The Lion King. And then when Mulan was initially pushed back, I'm like, oh, thank God I don't have to watch The Lion King remake again. And I was still really looking forward to it because I thought the trailers looked interesting. Mulan is a movie that I think kind of deserves a remake, honestly. Not that it's a bad movie, I do own it. But it can be improved in a lot of ways, and I'm kind of hoping this remake does that. So, I can understand why it was pushed back several times, and I'll pay $30 to see it when it's released in about a month. I won't be happy about it, unfortunately, because, again, all these movies that are kind of going on PVOD, they're exclusive. Most of the times, it seems like the family movies really do well on there. And, again, I mentioned this when Trolls World Tour was a big hit. I feel like that was really a success, not only because it was the first one to really do that, but it's definitely cheaper for families to do that. So, it's definitely not cheap for me to do that. So it's instead of paying $10 to $15 for a ticket, I would have to pay $30 just to see it here. And, I don't know. I definitely don't like that personally. Also, this makes Artemis Fowl and the one and only Ivan mad, probably. And the people behind those movies mad. Because those movies were just sent straight to Disney Plus. They didn't even have a price tag on them. They didn't release some premium. So they know that those movies are bad. But they really believe in this movie, at least. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt on that. So I don't know how to feel about this, honestly. Because in their initial statement, they said, we're going to release it in select theaters in the US, but we're mainly going to show it on PVOD on Disney Plus. And they said it's a one-off because of all the shutdowns, and they don't know when things are going back to normal. Hopefully they can kind of get things back to normal in November when Black Widow is supposed to be released. And, again, I don't know when things are going back to normal, and they probably won't really go back to normal until there's a vaccine. So, I feel like if Mulan is a success with this whole model, then don't be surprised if other Disney movies do this, Black Widow, Soul, they're supposed to come out later this year. Don't be surprised if they do that. Also, interestingly enough, this is being released on September 4th, and around the same time, that's when Tenet is supposed to come out, to theaters only. So, and that's only select theaters, because, again, with the pandemic shutting down a lot of theaters, a lot of the chains are trying to make a comeback, and most of them are saying, hey, you can see these movies for $5 again. Please come, we really need your money. And there's a part of me that's like, I do want to support you, movie theaters, but I also don't want to get sick. So, and also all the movies they're showing, they're movies that I've already seen or own already, so what's the point? So, I don't know, I just feel like when this was announced, it was just another nail in the coffin for movie theaters. Like, I know people said it was game-changing when, movies were being moved from theaters that were still in theaters when they were shut down straight to VOD. I didn't think of that as game-changing. It's like, that kind of makes sense. But now I'm just kind of thinking, maybe the movie theaters are closer to death than I just realized. So that's really upsetting, unfortunately. Like, you see, like, they announced today Antebellum, which was supposed to come out a few months ago. They've been delaying it, and they just said, we're just sending it to PVOD. And Bill and Ted, same thing. They moved it up a week. It was all supposed to come out first week in September. They moved it up a week to August 28th, I believe. So, I mean, like, certain movies I can understand why they're going straight to PVOD. Tenet, I can understand why that's going to theaters, but at the same time, I don't want to see it sit in a theater right now, obviously. Unless I was, like, by myself. And I would think, I'll be fine. I'll probably still wear my mask. But it's definitely a little worrisome over the future of movie theaters. I know they're going to definitely reopen at some point. That's not my focus right now. Will people go is the issue. Because, like, right now, China has finally opened up some of their theaters. The numbers are not looking good right now, and that's not really surprising to me. Because it's like, who's going to want to go to a movie theater, a high-risk area, and just to see a movie like Dolittle or Bloodshot? Those were the first two movies to open up in China. And the numbers definitely weren't great, so that doesn't really bode well for a movie like Tenet when movie theaters do reopen, unfortunately. And I live in New York. New York has mostly calmed down with the pandemic, but we'll never know. There might be a second wave. I hope not. But, I mean, so, like, obviously this has kind of gone on. It's like some mini rants or I just kind of diverged from the original, my original purpose of making this video. Mulan is going to Disney Plus now. You're gonna have to pay $30 to see it. Would you pay $30 to see Mulan? I will, only to review it. We'll see if it's good. I hope it's good. I really do. But, we'll wait and see. I just feel like with the longer they're shut down, the more trouble they're in. So, just as long as they can adapt to social distancing rules, they'll be fine. And when there's more treatments for coronavirus, or if there's a vaccine, that's when things are back to normal. Also, I should add here, because I think right now is kind of the best time to do it, I'm trying to do more reviews of other movies. Like, there are some movies on some sites that I wanted to watch, like Relic, The Outpost, The Rental, Greyhound. I wanted to watch those, and I'll review them sometime soon. Also, within the next few weeks, I will try to review all of Christopher Nolan's movies, from his very first movie, Following, all the way to Dunkirk. That's going to be really interesting. Just in case Tenet does come out on September 3rd or 4th or whatever. And when Mulan finally comes out, I'll definitely review it. And I'll do a ranking of all the Disney remakes, which, that's not going to be fun for me. I mean, it is fun for me, but not at the same time. So, definitely look out for those. So a few questions. Would you pay $30 to see Mulan? Do you think other movies should do that? What do you think movie theaters should do to adapt? Or would you feel safe going to a movie theater? I'm going to guess right now, most people probably won't feel safe. I know I don't. So, comment down below, subscribe to the channel. This is Pat, and stay safe.